I even called the Writer's Digest like headquarters and told like somebody there, like, I'm 9 months pregnant. I'll try not to make a scene if I go into later. Like
Well, hello everyone. My name is Michael Woodson, and I'm the content editor for Writer's Digest. It's early June as I say these words, which means that we are barely 2 months away from one of my favorite events of the year, and that's the Writer's Digest annual conference in New York City from August 17th through the 20th. It's 3 full days of writers helping writers, which is like the backbone of what WD tries to do. And it's packed with sessions run by best-selling authors, 3 keynote speeches, and so much more. You can register to attend at any moment leading up to the conference, but if you're on the fence about coming, we wanted to help you make that decision. And with me today to chat all about the annual conference is author and speaker Gabriela Pereira. I'm so excited to chat with you. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so excited to be here and I'm so excited to talk about the conference.
Yeah. So really quickly, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit to everyone? And I'd love for everybody here a little bit about DIY MFA.
So I'm Gabriela Pereira. I'm the founder and instigator of DIY MFA, which is the do-it-yourself alternative to a Master of Fine Arts in Writing. Basically, what we do is we help writers get the knowledge without the college. And what we have courses, we have a really great community. It's basically another resource out there on the internet that writers can turn to. And the best way to start connecting with us is just to go to our website, DIYMFA.com.
Yeah, I think actually DIY MFA is a really great segue into the conference. And I think that from your perspective with DIY MFA, what do you see as the benefits for writers who attend a conference like this for writers who didn't pursue a traditional MFA?
So I think for especially writers who didn't pursue a traditional MFA, but also for writers who did. I mean, I'm a writer who has an MFA. The conference, I mean, it's an experience that is all its own. Like, there's no way to replicate it. There's really no way to, like, you have to be there to really get it. But I'll do my best to sort of explain the benefits here. The biggest thing that you get out of being in a conference like this, there's two things. One of them is the access you get to incredible people. So like, this conference is full of agents and editors and people publishing experts, writers, authors, published authors, pre-published authors. I mean, it's just tons of amazing people, and they're all there because they love writing. And so they all have like this mission at heart, this similar, there's a synergy between everybody who's there. And you have access to people. You can go up and talk to them. You can connect with them human to human, which is so incredibly valuable. And you can't do that online. You can't do that in a classroom. It's something that really is very unique to being in a conference and the conference experience. The second thing that you get is, in my mind, efficiency, because it's packed into 3 days. So you get in, you get what you need, you make all those connections, and then you get out and you get back to writing. And you don't have to take up like, every Wednesday night for like 6 months to do a class or something like that. You don't have to like carve out that consistent, huge block of time. A weekend, you can kind of get away and make it happen. And then you just get back to normal life and get back to your writing.
I love that you mentioned access. And I think that um, we talked a little bit before we were recording, and your story about like how the conference really helped, I would say, spearhead your publishing career is, I think, really an interesting and important note about what the conference can do for people, if you don't mind sharing a little bit.
Absolutely. So the DIY MFA book would not exist if it wasn't for the Writer's Digest conference. So I think one of the, like, maybe the second or third year that I was there, I connected with the publisher of Writer's Digest books at the conference. And it was a very, serendipitous connection. Like, we're sort of in a cocktail hour, his badge was flipped. So I didn't know who, like, the person, like title and whatnot. And so we're just sort of chatting like person to person and like, hey, how's it going? And then he asked me like, so did you pitch? And I had done the pitch slam earlier that day. So I told him, yeah, I pitched. And then one of the things that, people who are pitching often do is they'll say like, hey, pitch me, tell me your pitch. I'll tell you, I'll tell yours and you
Yeah.
tell me mine, that whole thing, like the back and forth. And so he was like, okay, so tell me your pitch. And I told him, DIY MFA, it's a book to help writers get the knowledge without the college, et cetera, et cetera. And he then, puts out his hand and he's like, I'm the publisher of Writer's Digest books, and we would publish something like that. So get to work on the proposal and make it happen and then send it to me. And, the rest, of course, is history.
Yeah, that is like a Cinderella story to me. And I'm glad you mentioned the pitch slam. Would you mind just talking about the pitch slam a little bit? Because I know a lot of writers are probably, I would say, a little bit anxious about what to expect with the pitch slam.
Yes. And so to put people's minds at ease, I am incredibly passionate about Pitch Slam, but I firmly believe that you have to approach it with the right mindset, because if you approach it with the wrong mindset, you are going to be disappointed. It is not, an event to like you shouldn't go into it thinking I'm going to just find my dream agent. Cinderella story is going to happen, because maybe it happens like once every 5 years, but it's not something that happens in every single pitch slam. But the mindset you want to have when you go in, and it's an incredibly valuable experience to go to the pitch slam, is you tell yourself, I'm going to walk out of this pitch slam with the best possible pitch I've ever had. Like my pitch is going to be better coming out than it is going in. And the reason for this is that you get to rapidly iterate your pitch, and you get to see the facial expressions and the body language of the agents when they're receiving what you're saying. And then you can make adjustments when you talk to the next agent and the one after that. And so by the end of that, you'll actually have the best possible pitch. So even if you don't connect with an agent, or even if you don't get a whole 10 people saying I want to see your full manuscript and stuff like that, you're still going to win, because you're going to have this pitch that you can then use in your query letters. You can use it as an elevator pitch. I mean, if I hadn't done Pitch Slam and I hadn't iterated my pitch throughout that day, the knowledge without the college line, by the way, that came from Pitch Slam. That
Wow.
was because one of the agents didn't get what I was trying to say, and then I got kind of frustrated and I was like, it's just the knowledge without the college. And she was like, that is your pitch. And so from then on, that was part of my pitch. So you get those nuggets of wisdom in the moment in Pitch Slam that you just wouldn't get in any other experience.
Yeah, pitching is complicated. And it's one of those things where like we're so in it as writers, we know our story so well that
Yes.
describing it to somebody else is like an art form completely on its own. And I first realized I was bad at it, honestly. In college, we had a assignment truly about how to just summarize the story we just read. And we all realized like, I don't know how to summarize what I just read. And the point was to start practicing how to summarize our own work.
Exactly.
And the pitch slam is a really like condensed, intense, in the best way, intense time to perfect that over and over again, as you say. And I've heard from last year was my first in-person conference, and I heard from people who did the pitch slam, it being kind of what you're saying, like regardless of what their expectations were going into it, what they got out of it maybe wasn't a book deal, but they got so much out of it in
Yes.
understanding their own stories even more.
Exactly. And if you go into Pitch Slam with that mindset, then it's a win no matter
Yeah,
what happens.
totally. Yeah. Yeah. As I said, that was one huge part for me last year being my first in-person conference. My first conference on staff was 2021. It was our final virtual one. And I was like, oh, this was a breeze. Like, I got so much. And then when we were preparing for last year, going in person for the first time, I was so nervous. And I've mentioned this before, but I just really wanted to do a good job. And I was so nervous to see all these writers who I've like looked up to for forever. And I was so prepared to be there as an employee. Like I was like, yep, these are my sessions. I'm going to try and do my best. And I was utterly unprepared for what I would get out of it as a writer. And it really like put fire back in my process. And I'm just curious, you've been coming to the conference in so many capacities for so many years. Do you have any one or two like standout moments for you that really solidifies your want to attend the conference?
So for me, it really is at this stage in my career, it really is about the connections.
Yeah.
So like I go to Writer's Digest because I know a lot of people who are also speakers there or who are also attending there. And I know that this is an opportunity that I'm going to be able to have these one-on-one conversations. So for me now, the main benefit is actually happening outside the sessions. It's happening in the hallways. It's happening, at the coffee shop downstairs. That's where the big benefit is coming in. But when I was earlier in my career, the bigger benefit was, the sessions themselves, getting
Yeah.
that information. I mean, there are people who I got on their mailing list back in like 2012 when I saw them speak at a conference, at the Writer's Digest conference, and I'm still on their mailing list. I'm still getting valuable insight from them. In some cases, I've actually connected with them personally now, and like we have a professional relationship. So, there's a lot of benefits for going to the conference and making those connections, but also just soaking up all of that information because there's a lot
Oh yeah.
a lot of information.
I know. And I want to stress to people, if you're thinking of attending, like it is a lot of information and it can seem overwhelming, but there is no wrong, you can't make a wrong decision. Like
Yes.
there are so many different sessions and tracks that will help your writing no matter what. And then we talked about this at work, like if a session isn't like vibing with you, be professional, but you can step out and then find one that's
Absolutely.
working better for you. And it is a really open experience that is very community based. Like it feels like just all these writers are like, yeah, like I'm here to work on my characters, but I learned a hell of a lot from this session about setting,
Right.
and unlocking setting helped me unlock character. That was huge for me. I learned so much in the sessions that I was thinking I would just be working these, but I was like, no, I've gained so much for my stories from this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even now at this stage in my career, I still make a point of going to specific sessions that I
Yeah,
think are going to be valuable. And I always come out of them with like new insights and new ideas. So it kind of like restarts the fire of my
totally.
writing.
Something you shared a funny, well, wild, I should say, anecdote before we recorded that I think might help people understand. Like, yeah, Gabriela Pereira, I really believe in this conference. If you know what I'm talking about, would you mind
Yes.
sharing?
Yes, absolutely. So we were talking right before recording this, and I shared that I, in 2012, went to the conference 9 months pregnant to the day. Like literally, my due date was the Monday after the conference ended. So like I could have gone into labor at any
Yes.
moment during that conference. And thankfully that didn't happen. But I even called the Writer's Digest like headquarters and told like somebody there, like, I'm 9 months pregnant. I'll try not to make a scene if I go into labor. And whoever it was that I talked to on the phone was very gracious, and it was kind of hilarious. And now, of course, we joke about it. But that's how much I love this conference. Was like I did not want to miss a second of it. And even if I had gone into labor in the middle of it and I'd only gotten to do like a day or a half day, that's how much I wanted to be there, because it's a conference that I really love and that
Yeah.
just I find valuable every single year that I go back again and again.
I just love that. I think that is so truly special. And I'm very happy for you that you didn't go into labor during the conference, but like wow, that would have been so
That would have been a story for the ages, right?
yes, for everyone. Um I guess I'm curious about what you think writers should do to best prepare for attending the conference. Like, what's the one thing they should definitely bring outside of like tangible, practical things, like outside of like have an open mind? Like, what are things like they can set up to be like, this is a successful event for me?
All right. So first and foremost, you're going to want a notebook to write in because you're going to be taking a lot of notes. So make sure you've got something to write in and something to write with. Um, I wouldn't bring a computer or a laptop actually, because I think that that can kind of get in your way. So like if you're one of those techie people that needs the computer and laptop, you might want to go old school and write in a notebook. It's just more portable. But the other thing I would do is do my homework beforehand.
Mm.
So like I always print out the, on the website, the list of the schedule, and then I sit down and I go like line by line and I look at like the titles. And if a title stands out to me, I then go and look at the description, because the title doesn't necessarily tell you what the talk is about. So then you go and look at the description, and you also look at who the speaker is and see if the speaker, vibes with you, and if that's something, a person you'd want
Yeah,
to learn from. So do that homework. Like it can take like maybe an hour or so before you come to the conference. But if you come to the conference prepared, knowing like, this is my first choice for this time slot, this is my second choice, and I definitely recommend having two choices, so that you, like, if one of them isn't working for you, you can kind of tiptoe out and go to the other session. But like having that schedule, once you get there, put the schedule aside and just let it go. So
mm,
like you want to have the schedule so that you're ready, and so you have that safety net, and you want to like, use it when you need it. But don't be afraid to go in spontaneously to a session that just happens to speak to you, or you meet somebody in the hall and they're saying, I'm going to this session, do you want to come with? And you just go with them. So it's those spontaneous
hmm,
decisions that often lead to like those really fruitful connections, and all of those moments of insight and inspiration. Like often the session that you never thought was going to be the one that really works for you is the one where you have like the main, mind blown moment. So
totally.
those are like some practical things that I would say. And then afterwards, and I say this as a speaker, follow up.
Yeah.
Nobody follows up. So like if you connect with a speaker and they give you your business card, like connect with them, send them an email and ask them a question. Asking questions is really valuable, because it's like paying a compliment to somebody. When you
Mm,
ask someone a question, you're essentially implying, like psychologically, you're saying, your insights are valuable, I want to learn from you. So like ask a question, be professional obviously about it. Don't send like, your whole life story, but send a short email saying, thank you, for your session, I met with you, I'd love to ask you this question, and there you go. Then you become a name that they've seen in their inbox. So even if you don't talk to them for like 5 years, your name, when it comes up in their inbox, is going to seem familiar. Like I definitely recognize people that maybe I haven't connected for, years, but like they come back and they say, hey, we met in such and such place. And I go, oh, that's the name.
hmm.
And like you become a familiar face in the inbox. And it also means that it's a warm connection. So like you don't have to like write a cold email to somebody if you want to connect with them later. You have that in already. You've already made that connection. And so it's incredibly valuable. I have to say, I give out my business card to like dozens, if not hundreds of people at conferences like Writer's Digest and others. No one ever follows up. So if you follow up, you're literally going to be like the person who stands out from the crowd. So it's incredibly powerful.
That is such good advice. And the idea of like following up being a sort of compliment, I think is beautiful, because I had a professor in college who said, if you are ever in a position where you can tell an author how much you admire their work, you really need to do it, because if you don't, you will
Yes,
regret it for the rest of your life. And I had never thought about that before, and I've taken that to heart. And I reached out to one of my favorite authors via email, and she emailed back instantly. And I was like, "You are huge! Like, how did you have time to do this?" But
it
it makes a
happens.
huge difference. Yes, and I think like that is an aspect of like the community feeling that I think that sort of permeates the conference, is that this is sort of like your, on a lot of ways, your one opportunity to tell an author who is there how much you admire their work. And I think it makes a huge difference for them as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we will both be at attendance this year. I'm interested, I'm curious, what are you looking forward to most for this year's annual conference?
The same thing I look forward to every year, just being in the sessions, being there and connecting with people. I know a lot of the speakers who are going to be there, so it's going to be fun to see familiar faces and connect with and reconnect with people. So that's really the big thing. I'll probably be floating around in the hallways a lot and like hanging out by the exhibitors and by the bookstore area. I find that those are great places to have synergy kind of moments. So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, you had said something earlier about how like there's nothing quite like being in person at this event, and that was something that was calcified for me last year. It was like I was so, COVID, I was so used to virtual,
Yes.
and I was convinced that virtual was still the right thing to do. And when we went to do in person last year, it was a completely different experience. And if you are able to attend in person, I just highly recommend it. It was really like, it just felt like summer camp for 3 days with like
Yes.
people who are very like-minded but doing such different, unique, diverse things with the thing that we all love to do. And so I think for me, like the thing I'm most excited about is seeing the people that I know will likely be there again, like the attendees who are very loyal and get a lot out of it. And I'm very interested to see who will come for the first time, who and what everyone gets out of it. Is I'm just like, cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Me too.
Yeah.
August can't come fast enough.
Yeah, it'll be so hot, but don't worry, that hotel is always very cold, so bring a
Very air
sweater.
conditioned.
This has been so lovely, Gabriela. I really cannot wait to see you in August. Where can anybody and everybody find you online?
So the best way to connect with me is to go to diymfa.com. And the best way really is via email to hop on my email list at diymfa.com/join. That's the best way for us to connect.
Awesome. And if you're watching this or listening to this, and if you're interested in attending the conference this year, again, it's in New York City from August 17th through the 20th. All of our details are on writersdigestconference.com. You can see all of our sessions, who's going to be there, as well as our speakers. And this year's keynote speaker is Elizabeth Acevedo, who is one of my favorite authors of all time. So if you are watching or listening, I really hope to see you there this summer.